Hello everybody and welcome to the Midnight McBride show, show number 49, nearly at the big 50. And tonight's show is called The Sweetest PIL. And that's because my special guest tonight is a Breathwork Facilitator and Co-Founder of the Quantum Questions. And this lady is Sam Pilbeam. Hello Sam. And for the people at home that don't know Sam, your partner is Greg Garrett, who was on the show just about 3 or 4 shows ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what we do on this show, Sam, as you probably know, we go through somebody's life journey and we talk about how they arrived in this present moment, the journey. And then we talk about what they're doing now. And usually that's quite inspiring. It shows that, you know, most people have had a few issues along the way. So, Sam, you're not from Windermere, are you? Leamington Spa?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Leamington Spa, Leamingtonian,
Yes.
But raised in Stratford-on-Avon, which is close by, about 10 miles from Leamington.
Yeah, and you're not an only child, you've got some sisters.
Yeah, got
All
3 sisters.
SSS.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us their names.
So Sarah, Sophia, and the younger one, Stephanie.
And your mum, Sandy.
Mum, Sandy, yeah.
Right.
So we're all SPs.
Yeah.
Well, apart from my younger sister now, she's now married, so has a different surname. And yeah, I think it made it easier for the name tags at
Well,
school.
yeah. I always said, when we had on Christmas Day our house, I'm Patrick Joseph McBride. My father is Patrick Joseph McBride. His father is Patrick Joseph McBride. You can guess how this is going.
Yeah.
My nephew is Patrick Joseph McBride. So we had Paddy, Pat, PJ Jr., we ran out of Pats, so we just
tongue-tied.
My granddad, they just called him Francis, and it wasn't his name, but we ran out of Pats, you know. So what's very relevant to your journey, Sam, and I think this is, I was fascinated when I read it on the website from the Quantum Questions, when I read your profile, is that you started meditating incredibly early. You know, this is sort of akin to what maybe some kids do in Tibet or India.
Yeah, so I was introduced to meditation, a form of meditation, age 5, but I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I suppose my initial journey that I remembered of meditation was when I was 14, and I learned transcendental meditation, or TM as it's known. So my parents decided they were going to study that and learn it, and they took me and my younger sister along, and the older sisters, but different times.
I suppose they got some of this sort of spiritual nature from your grandfather, because you said he was a homeopath.
My grandfather had a restaurant, but they used a homeopath instead of going to the doctors. So, and they had great results with the homeopath. And I think that is where my father got inspired into, I suppose, learning about alternative medicine, quantum physics, that type of thing.
So with the meditation, I've done transcendental meditation, and I've done the ceremony. I got my mantra, etc. And for the people at home that maybe don't know, with a lot of Buddhist meditation, certainly Kadampa Buddhist meditation, using a mantra and using it externally, so you're chanting. Some's internal, but predominantly a lot of it's external, so Om Mani Padme Hum, or just Om, or whatever. Transcendental meditation, you get your mantra, and this is generally, from my experience, it's always internal.
Yeah.
And a very different technique to what I'd done previously. I was doing my Buddhist meditation. I really just felt like I'd plateaued and I wasn't making any progress. And then I did TM, and it sort of untangled the knots, kick-started me, and off I went again, and it was a great experience for me, TM, yeah. But as a child, I wasn't very peaceful as a child, so I can imagine you must have been floating around, and because, you've got a lot of things going in your head as a kid. Transcendental meditation must have been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was a great tool. I can't say that I, was very strict with my meditation. So it's like a lot of those things, especially when you're younger, you might learn something and then be very enthusiastic with it for
initially
a period of time. And then, but I did use it, as and when I needed it. So, at one point I was meditating twice a day for the sort of 20 minutes as they recommend. I used it when I felt very exhausted or hadn't had enough sleep, or if I was skiing, that always makes me exhausted because I'm generally not as fit as I'd like to be. So it really helps,
you and half the world,
with that physical exercise. And at the end of the day, I found that a 20-minute meditation or, before skiing and after skiing really, really helped to rejuvenate me and give me that energy back. So
I bet you had clarity and focus when you were skiing as well, like really switched on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose with skiing I am anyway, because if you don't focus, then you fall over, or So for me, skiing's a form of meditation because you're totally focused on what you're doing, and you get into the rhythm, and it's amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd put that akin to if I'm on my push bike, my road bike, and I've done just under 60 miles an hour on my road bike, which is fast. I was obsessed with the speed for a while. The only time I've ever had any accident on my bike is when I wasn't focused on what I was doing. My mind was elsewhere. You need to be in the moment, don't
Absolutely,
you, really?
Yeah.
And you need a clear mind, And any sport I do, if I do an endurance sport, once I'm an hour into it, I start to focus on my breath, all my problems disappear, and I'm in bliss, So any endurance sport is meditative. It becomes that way,
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me what is, I'm going to read this, electrocrystal therapy.
That was something my dad studied and became qualified in. It falls under vibrational medicine.
Yeah.
So the crystals are in a tube, saline in there, and that's connected to a box. And they're special crystals. They're called piezoelectric crystals. Mm-hmm. And you can actually put the crystals or the tube, curl it around, put it on areas of the body, and it will put the energy back in or balance the energy. You also have a machine where you can measure the energy, whether you're losing energy or whether you need it balanced. And I remember when I was at school, and this was normal for me. I suppose when you're growing up, anything in your household is normal. Not every family was like mine, but we came back from school once, and my dad said, "Right, we're doing an experiment." And he put an apple in the middle of the room, and he said, "Right, I'm going to measure the energy with the apple." So he measured the energy with this machine, and then he said, "Now I want you to send negative things, to the apple,
vibrations,
so
frequency."
So we're saying, "We hate you, apple," that kind of thing. Then he measured the energy after.
Completely normal on a Saturday afternoon, isn't it?
And then measured the energy of the apple, and actually the energy went down. And then he said, "Now I want you to send the apple loving words." We did that for a period of time. Then he measured the energy, and the vibration went up. And actually, it is true. If you're sending daggers or negative words to someone, you can bring their energy down. They've done experiments with plants as well in school.
Yeah. Well, they reckon sort of anything that's predominantly water, and water has sort of an emotional memory. And if, an apple, our body, anything like that. And that's why I had a lady on here talking about gong baths, and the frequency of the gong, that resonates with different parts of your body. We're water at the end of the day, and it can change that, can remove blockages. I'd maybe liken the crystal, say it for me,
electrocrystal therapy.
Electrocrystal therapy with that display to kinesiology, where you might hold a can of Coke, for example, or a kind of pop up to your heart, and they test resistance in your muscles. Have you seen this done?
Yeah, I've had it done.
Yeah. And then you'll hold something like, a banana or something healthy, and it affects the resistance in your body, the energy levels in your body, because your heart knows what's good for it. It has an energy field. We're all electromagnetic, energetic beings, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, Sam, you mentioned skiing. What age were you when you started skiing?
I was 8.
8?
Yeah.
Yes. Did you break anything over a period of time? No.
And you twisted my knees a few times, but not broken anything.
And God. Do you still ski?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your notes, you said that you actually went and spent a year away, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I did a season in Austria,
and
I was a ski guide and rep, and it was fantastic.
Sounds like
an amazing time.
a dream job, that,
Yeah. Well, I'd always wanted to do it, and I just decided one day, right, I'm not happy in my office job. I'm just going to do it. So that was age 30, actually. I'd left it a little bit late. Normally you do.
Yeah. Well, only last year?
And I did that age 30.
Yes.
So, yeah. It really improved my skiing. And, being out there for a long period of time and skiing with people that were better than me really helped to push me to the next level. So,
It's something I've never done. I've done quite a lot of adrenaline-fueled sports, but I've never skied. I went on, they've got a dry slope in Rosendale. I've been on there when I was a kid, but beyond that, quite often I'd only be able to have, say, 2 holidays a year. I'd have to choose, do I go somewhere really hot or do I go skiing, which is something I wanted to do, but I'd always go to the hot place or exploring. So, still not done it yet.
Oh, you should try it. Although most people, if they're starting later in life, they try snowboarding because you can learn snowboarding in a quicker period of time and get down.
And it's cooler, isn't it?
I don't know. It depends on your skiing, but skiers and
they have Red Bull sponsor certain competitors now, and they have competitions where they do extreme jumps on snowboards and somersaults on motorbikes and all this kind of thing. And it's always a snowboard they use. It's never skis when they do this, but it looks fun. We're moving on a bit now. You're growing up and you're in your 20s and 30s and you're doing a job, but it's not your dream job at this point, is it?
Yeah, so I worked in office jobs, sales jobs, and I just felt trapped being stuck in a building at a desk. I don't think it's natural for human beings.
It's not. This is prior to you actually reaching 30 and going skiing, isn't it? So this is what made you probably make that choice and decided that you'd had enough. But I agree, absolutely. Human beings were meant to roam free, explore, experience new things, do new things, different cultures. A lot of us spend 8 or 10 hours every single day sat in a box with no fresh air, with no sunlight, staring at a screen.
Yeah.
Now, somebody says, but I've got to pay the bills and stuff. Well, you can not pay your bills, or you could pay different bills, or you can do that, but the time that you do have then outside that environment, you've got to get outside. You've got to do stuff,
Yeah.
But you're doing this job, and so then you party, which is, we all did, I actually did it for a lot longer than you. I didn't stop partying until I was about 40. And, I should have packed it in a decade earlier probably. But so you partied, you went out and you're drinking and taking drugs.
Yeah, I mean, as you do at that age. Well, not everyone, but
most do. Our generation.
I think I was looking for just different alternative experiences. I was looking for alternative states, and it was lots of fun. So
yeah. I think I carried on a lot longer than most, and so I partied really hard for 25 years, and I think the first 10 years, even 15 years, were lots of fun. I enjoyed it, but then it became quite destructive for me, and predominantly with cocaine. The early days when you're having LSD, you're smoking a joint, or you're having ecstasy and stuff, that majority of that was fun. But then I drifted off into cocaine, and that wasn't healthy, wasn't good, But you mentioned in the pre-show chat something about a drug that your mother was prescribed.
What happened at my birth? My mother was given pethidine, which meant that it went through to me. So my birth was was drugged basically. So when I came out, when I was birthed, I was drugged up, floppy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So and in breathwork, or rebirthing as they call it, sometimes you can relate your birth experience to how life is going to be. So the baby doesn't have the consciousness to realise that, oh no, it's just a drug they've given my mother, and so actually the birth was quite difficult, and I suppose I related that to I've got to do it all myself, and just felt knackered, drugged up, that kind of thing. And a lot of babies, who'd had pethidine, they've done studies that they went on to then take drugs to get that feeling back of being kind of out of it.
I suppose, yeah. Yeah, I find that fascinating, to be honest, because, it makes a lot of sense, that, yeah. Also, we're not going to do breathwork just yet. We're going to get to that as we get further on in the show. But in theory, you can reach some sort of ecstatic states and altered states of consciousness with this breathwork. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not. Yeah. That is what happens. You go into an altered state using the breath, and it's a conscious connected breath, and it helps to connect you with your subconscious. And the subconscious is way more powerful than the conscious mind. So even if someone's being, very positive and consciously positive, underneath that all in their subconscious, they might have negative self-belief or some traumas that need healing, and the breath work helps to bring those up and out the body through the breath.
We'll get into this further on the show, because I definitely have a few questions about that, and I think it's something I really want to try as well.
Sure.
There's a guy that came on the show previously who called Ben Atkinson, and he's an activist, and he climbed up Big Ben dressed as Boris Johnson for Extinction Rebellion. Okay. And he spoke very highly of breathwork. He does breathwork as well. Okay. After, and I think I've got this in the right order, after you'd been away and you'd worked for a season in a ski resort, then you became qualified in a number of things, including different therapies, Reiki, etc. Maybe run us through a few of those.
Yeah, so when I came back, I thought, right, I want to do something that I was interested in, which was wellness, beauty, that kind of thing. So I became qualified in beauty therapy, massage, Reiki levels 1 and 2. Yeah. I also studied scalar therapy, which is a Russian electronic healing machine, basically.
Right. There's usually a new one of those comes out every few years of some type, isn't there?
And also low-level laser therapy, which is a pain relief machine. So, I have interest in alternative therapies. So then I set up my beauty business in Leamington Spa. Decided, I wanted to leave London.
Tell us about Tony Robbins.
Okay, yeah, Tony Robbins. So I did all his Mastery University courses.
Are they online or?
No. Well, I don't know about now. Maybe at the moment because of COVID. But when I did them, they were events.
So you went to his events? He was giving them.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Yeah.
So that was amazing.
I didn't know, for example, depending on certain courses that you do, the big name attached to it isn't actually delivering the course. So he was doing that. Yeah. So did you get to talk to him and meet him?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
And
he's big, isn't he?
He's huge.
Yeah. There's a lot of motivational speakers and people I think very highly of, and one of the main ones I'd say is Wayne Dyer. And I've read nearly all of his books, and I think he's phenomenal. He's passed now, obviously he's deceased. But with Tony Robbins, he's good, but for me, there was always quite often it revert back to finances and money. And for that reason, I never really took to Tony. I like some of this stuff, but for me, it can never be about money.
Yeah, I think Tony is, one part of the Mastery University is wealth mastery. And, that's something that I'm still trying to master. Yeah. I've done a lot of work with clearing a lot of issues around money. You've either not got enough or maybe too much. That would be nicer. Yeah. Or some people may have taken on their parents' beliefs around money. If their parents had poverty consciousness, and you can actually take on your parents' beliefs, or the family belief around money.
Money doesn't grow on trees and and all
these things.
Crap,
and especially if you were told them before the age of 6, you literally take them on as belief, and then your beliefs become your reality.
Of course, yeah.
And money is a big thing for most people. So
I think that's probably just highlighted the fact that money is part of life and should be part of that course. And it's my issue with money. It's nothing to do with Tony Robbins. It's the fact that I have an issue with money.
I'm sure Tony's very, very relaxed about it because he's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah. But because he talks about money, it put me off. But the fact is that if somebody's going to give you a skill set to get through life, that has to be part of it, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really interesting, knowing your own beliefs around money and your reactions to money and that kind of thing. Like, do you have anger around money, or do you feel relaxed around money, or because the way you feel around money, because money's an energy. So if you have anger around money, well, that's not a high vibration. So you can actually shift your vibration around money. So if you feel the vibration of joy and love around money, then, generally you're going to attract more. But it's always a process of being aware of your reactions and then thinking, okay, so what am I creating here? Because we're all manifestors, whether we, know it or not. And are you manifesting money? Are you happy around money, or do you have issues around it, really? So it's always a good one to be aware of.
Yeah. So, Sam, the next part of your journey, which is probably a big turning point and very relevant to what you do now, is in 2009 when you started breathwork and rebirthing. Now, maybe assume we know nothing, okay?
Okay.
What is rebirthing and breathwork? And give us maybe a brief idea of how it works and what it is.
Okay. So breathwork is an umbrella term for different types of breathing therapies, I guess. So underneath breathwork would be probably Wim Hof's breathwork, or the Wim Hof technique, pranayama, which is an ancient breathing technique, and also rebirthing, which is the one that I do. Rebirthing was discovered in the late 60s, early 1970s by Leonard Orr, and he spent years trialing it and realised that when you go into these altered states, you can go through your birth experience.
Right.
Or re-experience your birth experience, which I've done.
Okay.
So.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, it's very healing.
Right.
So you can re-experience it, and as a more conscious being, as a baby, you don't have that consciousness.
Is it a pleasant experience?
It depends what kind of birth you had. So mine wasn't pleasant because I was drugged up and it was very, woozy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a pleasant experience. But actually, rebirthing itself, you can have incredible breaths where you go into an altered state, a very blissful state, and that's usually after you've done emotional clearing, trauma clearing through that. But it's a very effective form of therapy. It's mostly non-dialogue, so you would have your consultation and chat at the beginning, and then you're guided through the breath by the facilitator or the breath coach. And the breath does it all, really. It brings up trauma.
If you're doing the breath work, do you specifically target that period in your life as you're being born, or could you go back to being age 8, or what? How does that work?
Yeah, so the facilitator will guide you, but normally it will just happen.
Right.
Like for me, I went through it and I was kind of guided through the facilitator, and I literally felt the pressure on my head and everything. It was the most freaky experience.
Yeah. Is this sort of, when you were doing it, before you're a facilitator, when you're doing it, is it something you do over a period of weeks and it's an hour here, an hour there, or is it like a retreat you do for a few days, this experience, the rebirthing? How does that happen?
So typically a breathe lasts 1 hour. So with the facilitator, you'd normally have two or 2.5 hours with them because you need time at the beginning and also time at the end just to integrate. You wouldn't just do a breathe, be in the altered state, 'cause you can get into very, very deep states. And, if you've got trauma coming up, you might be, crying or, that can happen. And it's, so you're in an altered state. So after that, you need to recuperate and just relax and just ease yourself out of it. So, and typically, if someone came to you, they would have 10 breathes, and that's enough usually to clear most of their issues. And then after the 10, you would just check in with them and see.
So you still might practice this. It might be an ongoing thing you do on your own then, like a meditation, or would you just do it in those sessions?
I mean, you would always recommend that people don't do a breathe on their own unless they've done 10 sessions with a trained facilitator. Right. Once they've done the 10 sessions, they can join a breathwork group or, do a breathe on their own. So, yeah.
Okie dokie. We're now going to jump forward to 2014, and this is the point where you said you manifested your dream life, and you met Greg as well.
Yeah, so I had done 10 years of breathwork, various different courses, and I'd also done another of Tony Robbins' courses, which was the Law of Attraction course.
I didn't know what LOA meant. I'm aware of the Law of Attraction course, but it was abbreviated, so yes. LOA, yeah.
So it was the Law of Attraction, and it was actually ran by his business partner, Joseph McClendon, the second, I think it is. Amazing course. It was 3 days in London, and they teach you how to put the Law of Attraction on speed dial.
Right.
And it works incredibly well. So when I'd finished that course, I wanted to manifest a house, and I guess I'd started small. So I thought, okay, 2-bedroomed, and I described it in detail. And anyway, I'd seen this a few days after the course. I'd seen this house in a estate agent. I thought, oh, that looks nice. And I went in, and the woman said, I'm sorry, that one's gone, but this one's available. And she passed me the particulars. And I just had these shivers all down me. I couldn't believe it, because everything I'd just been manifesting and just described to detail was on these particulars. And I thought, oh my God, this is freaky. And it actually freaked me out.
I'd called those like a bolt of lightning, those moments where you can think of something, and I had one about 2 weeks ago, and you just cast it out to the universe. You can call it a cosmic order or whatever you want. And so you want this to manifest. And then occasionally, within minutes, it can happen. It can happen that quickly. And it can be so accurate that it does make you stop. It stops you in your tracks, and you're like, I can't believe that, Yeah.
Yeah. Usually there's a timeline. Obviously, we don't want to manifest everything we're thinking of
straight away.
No. Unless you've got complete control over your thoughts. But, yeah, so there's usually a time delay between manifesting, but you can speed it up, and that's what I learned in that course. Anyway, so when I first learned it, it did freak me out, but I realised I wasn't ready to receive.
Yeah,
it's very important to, if you are manifesting, be ready to receive what you're manifesting. So in 2014, I decided I'm going to really go for it. So I did a period of 2 weeks. You have to jump on a trampoline and various other things.
Right.
So I did that every single day for 2 weeks. And then after 3 months, I was running a group, how to create a conscious relationship, because I decided, okay, I want a conscious relationship. I want someone that's into personal development and all the stuff that I'm into.
Yeah.
And Greg came along to one of my groups, and then we eventually got together and just we started doing everything that I'd put down. We travelled, we went on different courses, and
You mentioned in your notes at this point you sort of started becoming curious about or wanted to find out about Tantra.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, maybe.
Yeah, so I was on a breathwork retreat, and one of the guys on there was making a film about Tantra, and I was talking to him about it, and it sounded intriguing. And so I decided that I wanted to study Tantra, and
I think everybody thinks about, they say Tantra or Tantric, and everybody assumes it's, in the 60s or 70s, and it's what the Beatles did, and it's all about sex, but it's not.
It's actually, it's a spiritual path, and it's about, yoga and meditation and various other spiritual practices, but it's actually about heart-based living.
We do Tantra in Buddhism, and I have to explain to people it's not what they think it is. It
has got potentially a bad name with certain people. They presume it's one thing, and like anything really, there's going to be groups of people that will maybe give it a bad name. But the teachings that I follow are very pure, and it's all about connecting through the heart and going on a spiritual journey. Okay.
Yeah. So Then next part of your journey we'll talk about is Glastonbury. You go to Glastonbury. And
not the festival, although I've been to the festival.
Yeah. And this is a event run by Sondra Ray.
Yeah.
Is that right?
She's a breathwork teacher. She's known as the mother of rebirthing. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wanted Greg to experience breathwork, and so he said, yeah, we'll go, because I'd been nagging at him for ages.
Yeah.
And I don't think he realised what he was getting himself in for.
So he's done the rebirthing.
He did, yeah. So his first experience of rebirthing was we did a 9-day, it's called a quest. So it was called Glastonbury Quest. And it was a 9-day intensive breathwork journey, if you like.
Yeah.
And it was on spiritual immortality. And we stayed in Glastonbury Abbey, beautiful place. And there we met Lucy.
Who's coming on the show.
She is, yeah.
In about 4 shows' time, Lucy's going to come on the show, and she's also a co-founder of the Quantum Questions.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
So,
awesome.
So we met Lucy on that course, and we've been friends ever since. And recently, we've started a company together. So
yeah, which is the Quantum Questions, which we'll get to in a moment. The next bit, which is, for a lot of women, this is unthinkable, but you went to India, and I'm assuming maybe you, Lucy and Greg went together, or maybe Lucy had already been, but...
She'd already been, but we all went together. Yeah.
And what's the term you use for shaving your head?
Oh, Mundan.
Say it again.
Mundan.
Mundan.
Yeah.
And you shave your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, maybe explain why you do that.
I didn't go specifically to do that. It was another breathwork quest. It was called India Quest. And so we went to India, and I'd actually just had my hair done. So, I went there, and I'd heard about it, and I'd seen people that had done it, and I just thought, why would they do that? Women shaving their heads.
Is it to do with non-attachment? Is that?
Yeah. Partly, yeah. So anyway, and I was curious, and then something about the place. It's a very special place. We went to this ashram up in the Himalayas, and I saw these women that had done it, and they just looked so peaceful and beautiful, and I just thought, wow. And I know I was questioning people about it, and I was umming and ahhing, and something just drew me to do it. And it was I thought, well, if I can do this, someone that's been in the beauty industry and letting go of my hair, it was huge. It was a huge thing.
So it wasn't part of the quest you were doing. This was a separate decision you made.
It was part of the quest, but it wasn't compulsory.
Right.
If people wanted to do it, there's a beautiful ceremony, and you get your hair shaved off by this guy who lives there, and his father did it before him, and his grandfather. So, it's a beautiful ceremony you do by the river, and you have a banana leaf, and you see your hair falling onto this banana leaf. I was crying.
I imagine most women are crying, yeah.
You can't go back once you started. But and I said to my friends, because they were like, what have you done? I couldn't believe it. And I wouldn't have done it if I was in Leamington, or, it was just something drew me to it. But it was actually a letting go of the old me. It was, very...
Is it... It's big bald, isn't it? You shave it. It's not like done with clippers or something.
Oh, no, they shave it with a razor. So it's incredibly emotional. It was for me anyway, because letting go of my hair was huge. So
I can imagine it's transformative. It's really powerful, that.
Yeah. I did hide out a little bit afterwards, I must say, when I came back.
It's less significant for a man, especially one that hasn't got much hair, or like myself and Greg, who are bald. So it's different.
He shaves every other day.
Yeah. If you would, Sam, tell us about the Tantra festivals and community, but also the Quantum Transformation training as well. What's that, and how is it different from the Quantum Questions, which you're now doing? Yeah.
So like I said before, I'd had my spiritual journey. It was meditation first, doing TM, then I discovered Tony Robbins, and then breathwork, then Sondra Ray, and then I wanted to explore the tantric side, and found tantra festivals in London, which was a taste of the the whole community, really.
Yeah.
And so we discovered Advaita Stone through them.
Right. So this is where Advaita, and am I pronouncing that right?
Advaita
comes
Stone.
into the picture.
Yeah. And he runs, several courses, and he's got, many schools all over the world.
I know he's Greg's teacher. Is he your teacher as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So we discovered him at the same time.
Right, got you, yeah.
And he runs a course called Quantum Transformation. Mm-hmm. And it's, a very new course. It's only been running about 2 years.
This, up until now, I hadn't put the dots together, and now it all makes sense.
Okay.
Now I understand. Yeah. Right. So he runs this course.
Yeah, called Quantum Transformation, and it's part of the Atman Federation. And so, it's a very high-level course, and the teachings are ancient teachings. You won't find this, anywhere else. And you get taught the yoga and meditation and various other, teachings to help you grow spiritually and evolve.
This would be like the yin yoga, which Greg showed us as well, which is myself and Willow, which is not the yoga we normally do. We normally do all the poses, and this was completely different.
It's actually hatha yoga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not yin, but although I love yin yoga, but this is hatha yoga based. And when you're in the poses, you're focusing on the chakra, so the particular chakra that it's related to. And it's actually amazing because, when I was when I'd first started doing the meditations and the yoga, I just thought, well, this isn't doing anything. Anyway, it's, after about a year, I gave up meat naturally, and noticeable changes. So I became more aware. I became softer and kinder.
Who said?
And just it's just incredible, really, that the changes in a short period of time by just following their teachings, the yoga and meditations, and also focus of attention, which is really, really helped.
St. Catherine's Retreat in Windermere.
Yeah,
that is you're sort of the owner of that, co-owner with Greg. Yeah.
So we started that. It was this year, and so we run a retreat centre, but it's also let out as an Airbnb as well in the season. So we decided, retreats in the winter, Airbnb in the season, sort of spring and summer.
I'm very lucky. I've been to have a look at it, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful setting and a beautiful building run by beautiful people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Sam. So if somebody wanted to find out maybe about the quantum questions, or if they wanted to see what events are coming up at St. Catherine's Retreat and they wanted to attend a retreat, where would they go?
Yeah, so we've got websites for both of those. So it's thequantumquestions.com.
Yeah.
And also we have a Facebook page and Instagram. If you
for
just
both?
type in, the Quantum Questions, and stcatherinesretreats.com.
Yeah.
We're also on Facebook and Instagram. So if they just type in that, they'll find us. And we've got, so we've got several events. All the events are on the Quantum Questions.
Right.
And if they want to see pictures of the retreat centre, go on to Catherine's Retreat, stcatherinesretreats.com.
Yeah, you're actually right by probably a few 100 feet away from the edge of Windermere, aren't you, where you're set back? It's not far, is it?
Not far at all. It's about 2 minutes in the car.
And you do cold water therapy as well, don't you?
Yes.
It's all cold water immersion therapy, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, so Greg and I...
we used to call it skinny dipping.
Well, we have costumes.
I know, I'm teasing.
But so Greg and I did a Wim Hof, not with Wim Hof, but it was someone that had trained with Wim Hof. Went to Edinburgh and did the Wim Hof training. We got in the sea. It was 5 degrees, and I have an aversion to the cold, and so for me it was huge to actually get in the sea without going into shock and stay in there for 5 or 6 minutes and just control my temperature using the breath. So that was incredible. So we do that in Lake Windermere.
Yeah, I've done a lot of cold water swimming, because I trained for open water swimming for Ironman and stuff. I've done a lot of that. Usually with a wetsuit, it depends on the temperature. For instance, in Ironman, if the temperature's below a certain point, you can't compete without a wetsuit.
Oh yeah, of course.
There are rules, but on some occasions without the wetsuit, and I've been skinny dipping a couple of times this year as well, which is wonderful. I went to Rydal, and there's plunge pools and a series of waterfalls, and we jumped down off the rocks. It's beautiful.
I'll do that in the summer, I think.
Yeah. Sam, the Sweetest Pilbeam, thank you very, very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I think you're a beautiful soul and a lovely lady, and I think what you're doing is helping a lot of people. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been great.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, I'm going to leave you with a quote this week from my book, From Pills to Peace, and this quote's by myself. And it's simply this: if you want your life to flow, you have to let it all go. You have to be prepared to do new things, keep the door open, and expand and grow. Get outside your comfort zone on a regular basis and do new stuff. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. You can go to the website, midnightmcbride.com. You can catch me every Monday night, the Mind, Body and Spirit Show at 11 p.m. or midnight till midnight on Salford City Radio 94.4 FM. You can buy the first book, From Pills to Peace, on Amazon, and you can also get it in Kindle format, and you can get it as an audiobook on ACX, iTunes and Audible. You can also listen to this video podcast, now going up to 3 shows a week, starting next week on YouTube, and then 3 days later it goes live now on 6 platforms, which is Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon and Google Books and Pandora, I think, as well. Whew, okay. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Shalom.